Greetings, happy coders, and welcome once again to the home cooking live stream. And I'm here with my good friends, Mr. Andy Johns. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
And Mr. Dom Reid, and I'm here coming at you from Astana, Kazakhstan, where it is currently minus. No, it's not minus. It's 3 degrees. When will I see you again? But it was -6 earlier tonight, but it's gone up a bit.
-6.
Yeah, that's about 21, 22 degrees Fahrenheit for those of you watching in the USA or Canada or any of the former British Empire. Andy's in Cambridge, and Dom, you're in Devon, is that right?
In Devon, yeah, that's right.
All the way down there. So, all good. How have you been, lads? Have you been good?
Yep, not too bad, Tom. Getting over the cold, which has lasted nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah, I remember you weren't well, but it's good to see you feeling a bit better now.
Yeah, much, Tom.
You been up to much, Dom?
Yeah, busy drawing. Yeah.
Yeah, like you do.
All good. Like I do.
Was it for fun or profit?
For profits, yeah. Yeah.
Always good.
Doing some comic stuff.
Nice. Well, we might be talking.
Fun.
We might be
Guy
talking.
running around a graveyard at the moment. I'm doing.
A living person or an undead?
This guy is alive, but there are imps and ghouls also.
I see. Sort of ghosts and goblins sort of thing. Or is he a modern person, or is he a knight or a?
It's in present day, but I don't actually know all that much about the history of this character yet.
I see.
First few pages I've done of him, and I think the writer has still got to do a bit of extra work on.
Right.
You
Oh,
know,
so does that happen then? That the writer will only have half a story, and you're sort of drawing it, and he's making it up as you go along? Does that happen?
Well, no, he's got a fair amount, but I don't know the full history of the character.
I see.
Yeah.
And
And
does
that's
that
quite unusual. It does happen sometimes.
and does that help you? I mean, because like when an actor is playing a part, they like to know the backstory and the motivation and stuff. I mean, does that help you when you're drawing? Does it influence the style and the way that you draw the character?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but this is going to be a new character, so we're kind of feeling our way together with it, which is nice. It's nice to have that opportunity.
Yeah,
So
it's
there's
not
a
that sort of experience. I'm not that familiar with. I mean, Andy and I work together quite a bit on games, and I suppose in some ways, I mean, it's not the same, but I suppose you've got the kind of back end and front end thing, where I might do some coding and Andy's doing some graphics or something like this, and then we're like, oh yeah, that doesn't look quite right, or this needs to move, and it's like there's a sort of element of trying to let the thing be what it wants to be, right? Between you, you're sort of discussing.
Yes, it's nice when you have a situation where that can happen. It's not all that often, actually. Quite often, it's just you just get your bit of the job and you do your bit, and that's it.
Yeah. I think you need to be fairly generous with the way that you work if you want to work that way. But it does often mean the work is better for it,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Fortunately, I mean, as I said, if you work with somebody that you know quite well, then you can feel free to criticize, and the other person doesn't take it personally, which is always good.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, as for me, I have not been doing much this week, actually. I haven't got anything to report, quite frankly, that I can think of. Just went out for a nice dinner, but apart from that, just trying to deal with this cat. I honestly don't know if we're going to keep her, because it's just hard work. But anyway, I digress. So we have been talking about, I chosen this game this week. We chose it last week. Don Quixote. So as it happens, Andy was telling me before the stream that he's an expert on sort of 17th century 17th century Spanish literature.
Absolutely.
Is it 17th century? It might be earlier. It's kind of interesting though, because we did a game based on Virgil, right? From
Yes, we did.
you know, the Divine Comedy, the greatest Italian sort of piece of Italian literature, and Don Quixote is widely considered to be the greatest, you know, the magnum opus of Spanish literature. So it seems that these characters are still having an influence, I suppose. You know, there is more than one game.
Great character.
He is, isn't he? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
Are you familiar with the story then, Dom? Have you?
To some extent, I mean, I know. Yeah, I know what he is in terms of being a deluded man who thinks he's a knight.
Yes. Although I was saying to Andy, I'm not entirely certain that he is necessarily deluded. I mean, almost.
Well, that's part of the feat,
yeah, deluded.
It brings up the questions, doesn't it, for an early book? Like that,
Yes,
you know?
deluded by choice. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that an interesting way of, you see, the writer Cervantes, or should we say Cervantes? I don't know how you say that, but anyway, it could be Cervantes, but Miguel Cervantes, we'll call him. That sounds all right. He was, you know, there was at the time, I mean, writing was fairly established, and there were a lot of stories about knights and people going on quests and fighting monsters and, you know, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Some of it written, probably a lot of it told around the fireside, you know, that kind of thing. And that was the popular thing. That was like the comic book of the 16th century, 17th century, right?
Cool.
The Pulp Fiction, the popular thing. And so Cervantes decided to kind of have a play about with that idea and turn it on its head a little bit. So in some ways, this is just for the benefit of everyone else watching. We'll summarize it a little bit. I would summarize Don Quixote like this. It's basically like an old guy who's really into comic books, right? And he's so into comic books that he decides that he wants to be a superhero, right? So he basically dresses up as a superhero and starts doing superhero stuff, right?
Yeah.
In the real world. And people think he's mental, right? And then he's like, well, you know what? I'm a superhero. I need to have a sidekick. So, you know, he's like pretending he's Batman. He gets his Robin, you know, and, you know, he's got a Batmobile and Robin's got like a little motorcycle, and it's all kind of, yeah, it's kind of like that, really. And as the story progresses, he does various sort of superhero things, you know. And he doesn't. Sometimes he kind of pulls them off, but kind of by accident more than design. And
I'd say, in fairness, Sancho Panza is more the guy with the design.
Perhaps, yes, perhaps he's like he's a bit like Dr. Watson in some way, although.
Yeah, but
perhaps.
he knows that Quixote is deluded. You know, he doesn't believe Quixote's delusions, but he plays along with them, but makes things turn out okay. Right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
Like,
And the other thing about Sancho Panza is that at first he's kind of in it for the money, but then he sort of realizes that it's probably more fun than real life, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he goes with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what they both kind of think. Well, you know what? Being an old guy in the 16th century it's a bit shit. So it's kind of better to be mental and think that you're a superhero, you know?
I think that's the story, right? That there is a value in that, and actually they're right in a way to do.
And the interesting thing about that, because it was very ahead of its time, he kind of it's one of the first works of literature where the writer is actually looking internally at the character, where the actions of the character are not necessarily heroic. It's more about what's going on in his head, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we often forget when we think about history and people in the past that they're really just the same as you and I, you know? And they're a mixed bag of good and bad and kind of... they've got the same insecurities, you know, the same worries about life and everything else that we do, you know?
Yeah.
They're really just the same, just a different, slightly different environment. But yeah, so Cervantes was kind of like the Frank Miller of Spanish 17th century literature, you know. So anyway,
So would Don Quixote be the tan rather than the Dark Knight?
well,
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he was more the Alan Moore.
well, I was going to say Alan Moore as well. Yeah, you could consider him to be the Alan Moore of the 17th century. I'm sure that Alan Moore's a big fan of Don Quixote because everybody cool is a fan of Don Quixote, which is why Dom knows about him and Andy doesn't. You know. Anyway, just kidding. Yeah, so that's Don Quixote. I was actually, and we'll have a look at this game. It's quite an interesting game, but we'll come to it in a minute. What I wanted to ask you, though, was that I was trying to think, and maybe in the chat people might also chip in. There's a little smattering of the crowd there. I was trying to think of games that were just the name of a character, right? But, I mean, obviously, there are some games like, you know, Spider-Man or Batman or whatever. I don't know if there is a game that's just called Batman.
Yeah,
Why?
there is.
Is there literally just Batman?
I thought the isometric one was just Batman, wasn't it?
Maybe it is.
Isn't there one where it's got the panels?
I thought it was Batman the Cape Crusader or
That was
something.
I thought the panels one was the Cape Crusader.
Oh.
Yeah,
There's definitely one that's Batman anyway. I'm sure.
And the movie one's called Batman, isn't it? The one, or is it just called Batman the movie? Oh, maybe it's called Batman the movie. Yeah.
Batman by Ocean.
Yeah, there you go. Fair enough. Well, comic book characters, I'm not sure that they really count, but if I said that, then...
Yeah.
I mean, they are literary characters, aren't they? I'm sure that Dom would like to argue that, and I guess I would agree overall that they could be considered to be literary characters.
I think they can.
You know? Sherlock Holmes, obviously. Sherlock, that would be one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mentioned in terms of real people, there's Bruce Lee, and there's I think there's what you guys would call Genghis Khan, I guess, but we would call him Chinggis Khan here in Central Asia, and Napoleon, Caesar, you know, generals. There's probably Alexander. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a game just called Alexander.
Yeah.
But there's not that many. Have you played the game Zorro?
No. Yeah, I think so. I like the character Zorro.
Yeah, Zorro the fox. Yeah, there is a real-time video game RTS called Alexander, and it seems like it's based on the Oliver Stone film. There you go. Anyway, well, we might take a look at Zorro, because this Don Quixote game is a little bit like Zorro. But Zorro was made by the same guys that did Bruce Lee, so, you know, you'd get your hopes up. Well, it's certainly published by the same guys. So you'd kind of get your hopes up, because Bruce Lee's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And the Zorro game is good, in a way, but it's also really slow, and the controls are not that great, and it's kind of difficult to figure out what's going on, and yeah. Now, who's played this game? Andy, you've played it. Dom, you haven't. Am I right?
I've played it a lot.
This is what I said to Andy at the time. I said, look, Dom and I will talk about the sort of literary stuff. You can talk about the game, and between us we'll fill in the gaps, and we'll be good, right? So, Okay, so before we start, this is a new homebrew. It's from Zosia Entertainment, who are pretty big players on the old homebrew scene, with quite a few really very professional and high quality games. Based in Russia, and haven't been doing a lot recently. Can't think why, but we haven't heard a lot from them for the last 6 months. But anyway, just to say, by the way, that obviously there's a lot of Russian people coming to Kazakhstan in the last few weeks, right? Probably more than 100,000,
Wow.
And if you have a sudden influx of people, it's difficult for the local population sometimes to kind of, there's a lot of ill feeling, I suppose, just because of what's been going on. But my general experience of Russian people is that they are actually really nice people, and we actually met some when we were in Azerbaijan, and it was kind of cute, really, because they what you'll find is that they'll be a little bit standoffish at first, and then as you get to know them, they'll warm up a little bit, and then eventually they'll kind of feel comfortable enough to kind of come out of the closet and say that they don't like Putin, but they won't do that at first, It's a little bit like it's a little bit like if you've got a friend who's gay, and when you first meet them, they don't say anything about it, but once they know you a little bit and they know that you're not homophobic, then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever, fine, something like that. So anyway,
They have to sort of make sure, that you're okay.
Yeah, that you're not working for the man, so to speak.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a fun game. What's interesting, I suppose, the first thing of note about this game is that it's 16K, which is, very unusual.
Yeah.
I just
There's
reset
a lot
it.
into it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the idea. I think they set themselves the challenge there. This is a nice screenshot here. Let me just
Oh, look at that. That's lovely.
let me share that with you guys so that you get it kind of up to date and figure out how to do that on the chat. How do I stream?
That's a super cool little illustration, isn't it?
It is nice, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know if it's. Do you think it's a drawing or a scan, or what do you think? Maybe a bit of both.
I think it's drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, just a minute. I'm in the wrong place for this. Let me see. Video chat. Share screen. And we are. There we go. We got that, guys. You can kind of click on that one. We'll probably end.
Oh, do I need to? If I click on the watch stream thing here, I'll get up to date.
Yeah, I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can. I don't know if there's a way that I can get. Yeah, I'm trying to sort of switch between you guys here, but I don't know. Just in terms of the display, I'm not sure how I can do that. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe I can just put you all on a grid like this. That's no good, is it? Oh, that's a little bit better. I can't seem to move that grid around, though. I'd like to rearrange that grid so that yeah. I don't know how to rearrange the grid, if there is a way or not. Anyway, that's all right. That'll do. We can manage. Okay. So, so Andy, yeah, you can. Oh, I made a mistake. I pressed yes for Kenston. I should press no. So, Andy, you want to take over? Tell us a little bit more about this game, then. Overall,
so it's interesting.
So you liked it then overall? Would you say?
Yeah, it's a lovely little game, really. I think initially when you look at it, it definitely reminded me of the old like Horace sort of era games, because it's a white background, which you don't often get. People always go for a black background. So
Yeah. So you
and
mean
they could have done
yes.
that here, but they obviously
Yellow or
decided
white, isn't it? So
yeah. So the look of it, I guess, it initially is a little bit jarring, just because it's different. But when you start looking at it, when you look at the animations, and you've got to go into this thinking it's 16K. They're trying to do as much as they can in 16K. Not sure why, maybe just for the challenge, but
yeah,
good on them.
I'm pretty sure that it's for the challenge.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun and it's really playable. The animation on the main character is really cool. Maybe the jump could do with a little bit of work, but that's a bit nitpicky. I mean, I wasn't really aware of the story until earlier, and obviously Alan, you gave me a few videos that I watched through. So I don't know how much of the story actually translates into this, other than he's kind of going around, he's doing quests. You got to go around, you pick your armor up. Once you've picked your armor up, then you can get on your horse, and then you can go to various locations. You get a nice, very simple little map screen that you can move around. You unlock different areas after you do different quests.
Cool.
Yeah, and it adds tiny little bits of gameplay as well as you go on. Like there's some animals that charge at you, and you have to hit them with your spear. So yeah, it's a lot. I think a lot of love has gone into this game, and it shows. It's a really nice little game.
I'm just saving a snapshot as I'm going along, just in case.
That's what I've been doing, but
just for the sake of the stream. So all right. Well, I've got like 4 pieces of armor. Yeah, this is this is what you'd call like a good old-fashioned specky game, isn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a good old-fashioned vibe, hasn't it? In a really nice way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no, they haven't gone over that because they can't afford to go overboard on the effects and that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what's interesting, isn't it? Because they've done it in 16K, it's given it that a real sort of 82 vibe, hasn't it? Like a sort of 82, 83, like a game that would be like. I mean, if this was, oh, bugger, I lost a lot. If this, I mean, I know people always say this. Oh, if we'd had this back in the day. If we'd had this back in the day, it would have blown our minds, right?
Absolutely.
This wasn't exactly in keeping with what we did have, but like a nice example.
Yeah. Well, what I like is that it's got the vibe of the early. I mean, I really like those early games, just because the thing that I like about them is that they were so often written by one person in the bedroom, like real proper.
Yeah,
the hero coders.
Yeah, exactly, and that that comes across. But they've got the kind of props, the knowledge to make the game a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
So you sort of get this feeling of like, oh, this is what the games would have been like if the spectrum had only ever been 16K, right?
Yeah.
And it had sort of, people had been forced to just keep writing games and getting better at writing them.
Yeah.
Damn, that happens every time. Where's the boots, Andy? Help me out. Do you remember?
The
Is it
boots,
back? Is it through here? Oh, there they are.
they're all in the same sort of area, so
Yeah, we're on. Look,
So
we've got. Whee! Oh, nice little effect there.
so you've got the
And look at
helmet,
that.
the
He actually
spear.
gets his armor when you've done it all. That's so. Look at that. Look, he's in there.
That's really neat.
yeah.
Look
Nice.
at that.
This is really floating Dom's boat, hey Dom, isn't it? Because you love these kind of pocket games, right? These little
Yeah,
where everything
absolutely.
is.
But it's clearly got like a big.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really
look at this.
ambitious.
Look at
I love
this.
about it.
So this
Look
is a
at that.
new.
It's got a map.
All right, I've just ridden on the old horse to here.
Adventure.
Da, 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 da.
And you know the graphics are just enough to inspire your imagination. You know, I think it's really, really great.
Oh, oh. What's going on here? She's following me. Is she?
Does seem to be. Dulcinea.
Could be. Is that a door? Oh, there are people. Oh, yes, she's following me, all right. There seems to be another spear here. Oh, so is that
Yeah.
part of the story? Like, does he lose that armor and he has to something like this? I don't know.
I don't know.
Not happening.
Of course, Don Quixote gave us the word quixotic,
Yes.
which is something that a lot of. Oh no, I haven't saved it. I should have saved it when I got all the armor. Rats. Well, we'll go back. Yeah, quixotic. Someone who's, it's kind of overly ambitious, attempting to do things that are ridiculously overly ambitious. Where ambition is beyond their reach, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is something that
Delusional.
many of us coders can relate to, I think.
Oh, yeah.
We always want
Got
to
to-
do more than we can, and
Got a bit-
in a kind of cute, timely sort of way. The ambition here is actually equal to the reach, and given that the sort of that it's on the 16K, it's a kind of it's almost
Yes.
poetic that it would be on the 16K. Like, what a
I love so
Only-
much that he wears the armor.
yeah, only Don Quixote would believe it was possible to make a game in 16K like this. Oh, of course I can make a game like this in 16K. I am Don Quixote, the man of La Mancha. Right, let's save it. I'm finding myself thinking that I could, I could definitely get into this. Just does what it needs to do, doesn't it? And it doesn't do,
That's it. It's no frills, but
That's really tickling.
Right. Okay, so what I also like is that he's actually he's fairly fleet of foot, isn't he? He's not. Oi. I can't get that key. What's that all about? Oh, you can actually drop
Which one?
stuff.
yes.
So, okay, clue us in, Andy. What?
So that is part of the game, is being able to only hold one item at a time. So you
have you
need to
discovered?
get that key.
Okay, how do I do that? Because I pressed down to pick it up, or is it space to pick it up?
Oh, so you got the shield. Okay, so this. Remember, I was saying there's a bit that I got stuck.
Oh, there's a spear. Look at that.
Yes. Okay.
Stabby. He's a bit
What?
stabby. Look.
Look at that. Very cool.
So you can press fire now, and you can kill the bat.
Ah, okay. I don't want to be going around stabbing those characters downstairs, do I?
No. But so if you go outside now. Is you need to do something else first.
Okay, which is what?
Don't know how far behind we are on the stream, actually. All right.
Well, you watch it on
Watch
Discord.
on there. Yeah. Okay, so you put the shield on there,
Yeah.
and then you go inside the wall and stop.
Here. What?
Keep going. No, just go onto the screen and stop.
I don't know
Think
what you mean.
just there. Wait, right. Blokey comes out. Now run after the blokey and stab him. Quick. Now you have to do that again.
Okay.
I just
Hang on, I remember.
I don't know.
This is something. There was something in a bar where he was
Ah,
having a
right.
fight.
Yeah.
Something from the story, I'm sure. I don't. There was maybe they did take a shield.
Now do it one more time. I mean, how you're supposed to work that out, I have no idea.
Well, you did.
Well, I didn't. I had to look it up.
Oh, okay. I guess if you know the story. Oh, he's
And
dropped
now he
the
drops
book.
the book. So
Okay.
it looks like books are the thing you need to collect in the game.
I see.
So now you can go and get the green key.
Right. Okay. If you've got the book, you can get that. Doesn't really make sense, but
No, you can pick the key up anyway. It's just that you have to do that little bit there to get the book. So, and remember the bat comes back. So, there you go.
I see. And then, oh, there's a green door in the old, the other
Certainly
place, isn't
is.
there? Yeah. All
Yep.
right. The cat's going crazy in the kitchen, guys. I'm gonna have to go and let her in because it's not. It's just she's really getting wound up there. I'm gonna have to go and.
Green door.
Okay. Right. I'm just gonna pause it there, chaps. Just a second. Oh, actually, you know what? I should probably save it, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Let me save it because, well, I've only got one life.
Take you out.
Okay, I'll just be a second, just a minute. Andy, Dom, chat away. Go ahead, please. Just a minute.
Oh. To us.
So it's for a 16K game. I'm kind of surprised at how much there is to do. I mean, I've seen walkthroughs. I've not gone through the walkthroughs, but it's about 20 minutes to finish the game. I think, like if you know what you're doing, you can probably do it way faster. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice little quest-based game. Actually, one thing I never thought about doing, because you've got the spear, is killing the spiders. I always kind of ran past the spiders, but I bet you can actually kill them.
Presumably so, yeah. It's just very, very ambitious, isn't it, for a little game? That's what I love. Is it
To do it in 16K, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I'm back. I put her in the bedroom with my sleeping wife. I just hope she'd probably be calmer if she knows that she's with somebody, you know, if you see what I mean. I hope.
Or maybe they'll just both be angry.
Yeah. I know, it's a double or quits, isn't it? But anyway. Yeah, 16K. Well, actually, guys, you know, the reality is it's closer to about 8.5K because of that 16K, as you guys will know now, 7K of that is the screen, and then you've got a few other bits as well. So,
Sure.
you know, about roughly 7. So about 9K is what it's going to be. So they're probably using some fancy little tricks for the shifting and different things like this. Yeah, there are some nice games on the old 16K, but not many because the 48K kind of took over pretty rapidly, even within the first year. I certainly remember.
Yeah.
My cousin had a 16K Spectrum, and he just took it back and said, "Oh, I don't want this. I want the 48," because by sort of 83, 84, things like Attic Attack were coming out, and people were like, "Oh, yeah. Right, no way."
It just wasn't worth it, was it?
No. So yeah, That's by Zosia Entertainment. There is another game called Don Quixote, which is a text adventure, and it's all in Spanish. But if you type in Don Quixote Zosia, I think you should be able to find it. It's free to download. I don't know who the author is. It kind of feels like it's written by one.
I think they do it as a team, don't they?
Well, possibly, but I don't know. With this one being 16K, difficult to say.
Yeah,
but I
who
like
knows?
it a lot. This might even be my favourite of their games, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
They do things with
personal.
graphics, right?
Sorry.
They do a lot of games with really impressive graphics and big
Yeah, there's a
sprites.
lot of kind of demo sort of stuff. You know, it feels like you're playing a
Yeah.
demo
Yeah.
kind of thing, and it is impressive, but there isn't a lot of gameplay underneath sometimes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like the coding is really impressive, but no, I mean I've got to say this is really nice. The graphics are perfect for what it is, and could be. Yeah, maybe it's the best 16K game that I've played. It could well be. I mean, Jetpack, of course, is going to probably trump it, but yeah.
Very impressive.
Is it better than those Ultimate games that are also 16K? Different.
I would say no, because I mean, when you think about like Cookie, 16K, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, and the
Jetpack
Alright,
is
so
probably the.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot more variation in the sprites, but it's one screen. Like Cookie's one screen, Jetpack is one screen,
Yeah.
and then they put all the artwork into that one screen. Where this is nice artwork, but spread over quite a large map, to be honest. So it's just resource allocation, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very well done. I imagine they might be using some little routines that flip the sprites and do things like that. You know, perhaps it makes use of the actual Spectrum ROM as well.
Could do.
So
I'd imagine that they're quite clever, these guys, because they do a lot of, you know, as you're saying, really nice games. So
for sure, yeah,
I bet they've got a lot of tricks.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of doing a 16K game myself in terms of a challenge. I actually set myself a challenge, but I haven't completed yet. But I wanted to write a game that only was in the screen memory. You know, it was literally a screen that you loaded in. And,
Oh wow!
And the top two thirds were the game, and the bottom third of the screen, which is about 2K.
Yeah.
Would be black, and that would contain the actual game. So
Right.
so it would literally load in as a screen, and that would be it. Then that would be your game. You know,
Cool.
that would be a pretty basic game, but it means writing a game in about 2K, which is not impossible.
Yeah.
You know, as Spectrum games used about ZX81 games. There were 1K games.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm switching over to Zorro. Enter your joystick.
Interesting phrasing.
You guys started giggling. I didn't. I was just commenting on the fact that it says keyboard as a type of joystick. But anyway, enter your joystick. I shall enter my joystick. Okay. Keyboard keys. I'd like keyboard keys. Yeah, those are usually the best kind of keys.
Yes.
Oh, have I got it on pause? Maybe I've got it on pause. Uh-huh.
Oh, this also has a rather pleasing.
Okay, that's quite enough of that sound, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what the keys are, though. And oh, maybe this music just keeps playing until the game starts. Okay, press enter to start. There we go.
Well, the graphics are kind of cool, aren't they?
Right, what are the controls? I don't know.
I remember getting this on some sort of compilation tape.
Yeah, it feels like a compilation tape game, doesn't it?
I don't.
It was a
think
full.
I
It was a
played
full.
much.
It was a full game. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure. I could be right. I could be wrong, but I think that Zorro is not. You know, it's public domain. Is he not? I think he might be.
Oh, might well be. Yeah, I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
don't know.
He's an old character, isn't he?
Oh,
Yeah.
I did that. How do I go? Oh, there we go. Right, I've got that going now.
Did Zorro have a sidekick, or was it just him?
I remember there being a sidekick, but I feel like there must have been. I remember one.
Well, again, I mean, he was a sort of Mexican 19th century Batman. You know, he was like he was a sort of a well-known sort of. He was like a nobleman, and then but he was also Zorro. You know.
Put on his mask and carve a Z into people's chests. That's what
I know that one of the things that you have to do in this game, I don't think you can die when you fall, but it's hard to get back up. I know that what you can do is, you see it says X, Y, and then you have to find, they're brands for that cow, you see.
Right.
And you have to find the Z one, and then you jump on this, like that,
Okay.
and it pumps the fire, and then you get the Z brand, and then you pick it up. You pick up the Z brand, and then you brand the cow with a Z, you know,
Right.
and then it runs away. It's a full-on sort of arcade adventure, really. I mean, what were you saying? Pump the fire? Was that what you were laughing at?
Well, the whole branding of the cow with the Z.
It's a bit mean, isn't it? Yeah.
Just a bit.
An odd aim for Zorro to have.
Yes.
Brand the
Oh,
cow.
but you see, gentlemen, I must brand this cow. Well, at least he's not like slicing the Z into everything like he does, you know.
Yeah, in the TV series, he would have sliced that Z into the cow.
Yeah. It's like, so this is not homebrew. This is an original from the time, and I don't remember the button that you use for sword. It's a bit of Prince of Persia in it as well, like you know, like an
It is a little bit, yeah.
before Prince of Persia. How do I? Oh, this is what I remember about this game was this falling off things.
Yeah.
And not look, I've just done it again. Right there. I guess I can climb there. Right. Okay. So can I?
Falling down.
Look! I want to get on that ladder there. Look. Oh, there you go.
Never a fun mechanic, really.
Right. Okay. If you hold up. Right, there you go.
Oh, wow.
Right. Okay. Shimmy. Bit of the old shimmy. Oh no. Maybe I can go. Can I go out there? Yeah. Ooh.
Cool.
Ooh, look at that. I can even climb. Ooh, look at that attribute clash. That's really good attribute clash, isn't it? Ooh,
That would have made him go good. If I remember this. I remember this being absolutely frustrating.
You can't jump off there, huh? Oh, there's a little seesaw here. Boom, boom, boom. Bottle of wine. Oh, a key. Right. Surely I can get that key. I don't know how though.
Jump off onto the sofa area and then back onto the key.
Oh, it's a bouncy sofa. Yeah, watch this, Dom. Watch this. Do 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 do. It's a really, really bouncy sofa. Yeah.
Wow.
You bounce left.
Ooh.
To get the key.
Oh, I'm sword fighting.
Oh, so funny.
Hey.
Hey.
But the sword fighting's a bit like tickling. You sort of go up to them and tickle them, and you can run away.
It has got a Prince of Persia feel to it. With the
Yeah,
sword
look,
fighting.
the old tickle, tickle, tickle. Go on, go on, go on.
Prince of Persia.
Andy, get on the old Spectrum computing or something and get the instructions and tell me.
Get the instructions.
What's my keys? I haven't been responding to the chat. I haven't tried any 1K chess. But there's a guy called Dr. Beep, Johan I think his real name is. He's done a lot of games on the Spectrum, on the Sinclair ZX81 1K games. He's done dozens and dozens, and a lot of them are really impressive for the old for the hardware that's in use, you know.
Did you go on the water level? Did I miss that?
No, I don't know. I haven't seen anything like that. No. I do
So
know.
this-
I do know that you can dig.
Oh,
hole-
you go down a well at the start.
There's a you can I know that you can dig that grave as well and go down. It's a secret tunnel. Oh,
Yeah.
look, presumably that's his missus, and she's So you can see why I sort of picked this game as to compare to Don Quixote.
Yeah,
so.
there is a similar. There's
Sort of-
something similar. Yeah. The feel of being the locations are kind of like adventure locations in a cool
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course you've got the Spanish vibe as well, you know, with the old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the walkthrough, you have to go down the well first.
Really?
Yeah, and there's
It's
stuff
not-
that you have to do down there.
Ah, because I always thought that was like a you can stamp. I always thought that was look at these guys here. They're all having a drink. Look, sort of a little bunch of bandidos.
It seems like it's quite a large game, to be honest.
A bunch of feckless bandidos.
Uh.
Okay.
Oh, here you go. Cool.
Yeah, do you remember that?
Oh,
Do you remember that bit?
wow.
You remember that bit in Zorro where there was like beach balls in the water and he bounced on them? I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. He was always doing that.
I'm never gonna make it. Look. Oh, you got to.
What Zorro always did, as I remember, is he always nearly went off the edge of a cliff in a cart. Right.
Oh, and to be continued.
Yeah, because it would always have that literal cliffhanger, wouldn't it?
Yeah, those we had those as
Wow.
kids, and they were but they were actually from. I think I made a mistake. I should have probably held up then, shouldn't I? I'm done
Yeah,
for.
they were
now.
hyper cold, weren't they? Those shorts.
We got to put up with this. No, you can press enter. Okay. Right. Okay, so we go, and she just magically disappeared. Ah, there. She's been kidnapped, presumably. We'll take. Yeah. So I mean, the graphics on this. What do you think? Are they all right? I'm not sure.
I kind of quite like them, but I mean, they have a dated charm, you know. But I like again, it's dark on lights. So
It is, yeah. That's true. Yeah, I think I can drop here and then bounce,
quite
right?
nice about that.
Oh, come on, game. That was a bit mean. That was very mean of the game to do that.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
think the
see
way-
now. There's a red like pulley. Oh, I've got to push. I got it. Right. We go up here, right, and then we go up here, presumably, and then we go up here, and then we shimmy, and then we drop down.
There's lots
What's the
of physics based.
Yeah? How do I? What's the keys, Andy? You should have got them for me by now.
The keys?
Yeah.
I thought you sorted the keys, haven't you?
No. I said go and get me the keys. You didn't. Not the. You went and got me a walkthrough. I didn't need a walkthrough.
Oh, one
I
sec.
don't know what the button is. There must be a button to do something with that rock. I've got to push that down onto the floor, right? And then I've got to bounce across. Again. Shimmy and drop and bounce across or something. But I don't know.
No,
I
it's
mean, I
just-
just got hitting loads of different
Yeah,
buttons.
Cursor interface 2 and Kempston.
My bonus is running low here. Come on.
Keys.
Keyboard. I'm trying space, I'm trying M, I'm trying the old Z, X and P and all
Can you
these.
hit the rock and
No,
Yes,
the
all-
combat is automatic, so
uh,
Well, what is it?
Can't find anything. Just looking at their actual website.
If you look on like Spectrum Computing or something, there'd be like
yeah, all it says is input
instructions.
devices supported: keyboard, cursor joystick, Kempston, and Sinclair joystick.
Isn't there like an inlay thing with instructions or?
That's what I'm just looking for now. They have the front cassette cover, but oh, hold on, inside cover now. Go. Z.
Just Z, huh? Z for
Yeah.
Zorro.
In a sword fight, push towards a guard to force him off the screen.
Oh, that was a good
ledge.
key. Whatever key I pressed then. That's the action.
Space to toggle pause, S to toggle sound.
That was the
Press
action
fire
key.
to pick up objects. Zorro can only carry one object at a time, except for the handkerchief, which goes into a pocket.
Yeah, did you see what happened, Andy?
No?
Just have a look. I pressed a couple of keys that you told me to, and this is where I ended up.
Oh.
It just
instantly Zorro just crashes the game.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Okay. It was pretty funny actually. This one, okay, press the key. Yeah, suicide button. Right. It's not bad, you know. Look, it's masked and everything as well. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I think the graphics are really cool. Really cool. There's something about them. I really like it. The animations are slightly silly, but that kind of makes it fun.
Yeah. These guys all came for a machine code tutorial. They're not getting one at the moment. We'll be on that though. Presently, we'll be on it. Right. I'm going to try this one more time. When I get over there, I'm going to save it so that I don't mess about. Because I don't want to resetting again and doing all this mess. Oh no. Zorro.
Well.
Okay. Bounce a bit higher. I mean, it doesn't really matter that he's Zorro, does it? It's just a kind of a sort of adventure. Yeah. So you said I'm not going to press Z. I don't know if it was Z that I pressed last time.
Well, symbol shift and enter will abort the game.
Ah, well that's probably what I pressed, but it reset the entire game, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. I was just pressing stuff at random. So you think if I press Z? Yeah, no, that ain't doing anything. Z is not doing anything.
No. Well,
no. But I reckon I could do this though. I could do something different, right? I'll show you what I could do. Right, I could bounce like this, and then I could bounce over here. Ah. Okay, I've got another idea. Right, Zorro. I think if it. Oh, yeah, I tried that, didn't I? And it didn't work last time, but we'll try again. I sort of jump from. Maybe if I jump. Oh, I know. Let's try this. Right, go there, and I'll just drop. That should work, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes. Look at that, Zorro. Well done. Right then. Now what? This isn't a bad game to play on stream, is it? Really? Because it's. Oh, look at that. We don't need the sound there, thank you, game. Okay, so we got some kind of weight puzzle game going on, right? Oh, look at that. Oh, let me stand on there. Oh no. Andy's not interested in figuring it out. He just wants to watch the walkthrough.
Yeah, well, I know how to do this bit, but you've kind of screwed the pooch now.
You know how to do it by.
You need to go down and get.
Whoa! Did you watch this on the walkthrough?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. I know how to do this. No, huh? We're trying to. Do you know this is called a game, Andy? We're trying to play a game. We're not trying to watch a video. So we're trying to figure it out for ourselves. You see.
Okay, I'll keep quiet then, because I know what you have to do.
Well, you know, you might. Well, okay, you might as well tell
No,
us
I'm not
now.
telling you now. No, not telling you now. You got to work it out.
Okay, Dom, help me out then. Well, I don't know if I'm pressing the button or what. You know, like, oh well, there's another pulley here, right? So I've obviously got to get that thing to there, right? So that when it's down,
Yeah,
I can climb and go, right? 'Cause it's gonna, if I drop down, it's gonna go down again, right?
So the middle platform has to be up before you roll it across.
Yeah, but maybe, or maybe I can stand on here and it might go up to the top and then roll across. Yeah, that could happen, couldn't it? Andy says nothing. Or is it just
I
gonna
reckon
balance there? It's just gonna balance. Look.
if you go left and then come back again, it might reset back to where it came from.
No. Oh, you mean
You might
like
need to go to a different screen to get something.
well, like that big ball over there?
No,
You see, you'd be tempted, wouldn't you? You'd be like, oh, I'd have to get
go
that.
down. Go down that ladder.
Yeah. What? There's a hole there.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to go and get this plant pot. Yes, the good old plant pots. They were quite common in Zorro, weren't they? That was his usual method of dealing with a, you know.
Yeah.
Oh no, what's going on here? I can't do anything. Come on, chat. I don't know if there's anyone in the chat who wants to help out. Well, I can't do anything here. What am I supposed to do?
Well,
I'm sort of stuck in.
go to the right and jump.
Oh, there's that. Oh, now that was a bug. Did you see that?
Yeah, that was a bug.
That was a proper bug. That was. Look at that. Let's see if we can do it again. Wow, that's a real bug.
Yeah.
There's a bug like that in Bruce Lee, actually. Look. I shouldn't be allowed to get into there. But I end up coming out on the other side.
Yeah.
But those little stippled platforms are jumpy.
Ah. Oh yeah. Well, it didn't make that obvious, did it?
Right.
Wow. It's interesting, isn't it? Because these games of the time, they really were a lot of it was trial and error, right?
Yeah.
We talk about that when we talk about games and like do's and don'ts of games. Trial and error is really, I mean, I don't know. We just we don't really have time for trial and error anymore, do we? I mean, it's just
no, we don't make games that way anymore.
It's just
you know, that was the early days before people really knew how to make games.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I said, I hate to make the same joke twice, but the old trampoline plant pot and what do you call that? What do you call this thing? Monkey bars, yeah. The old trampoline plant pot monkey bar routine was often seen in the classic Zorro.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway. No, I like it though. I remember liking this game at the time, and this is good. Right, so the old plant pot, I presume, is going on here. Perhaps I'm heavy enough now. I'll just stay on it, right? Because I think I'm heavy enough to lift it all the way down, right? It'll go all the way down. And then that'll roll, and it's going to land. It's going to roll, isn't it? It better add.
Yeah.
Not sure,
And there we go, and it's going to land.
Lovely.
Yeah, for some reason that made Zoom open as well, which I don't know why, but... Anyway, right. So I've now got a plant pot, which I may or may not need for something. Oh, I probably do need that plant pot, right? I imagine I'm going to need that plant pot to replace the old thing, right? Probably I have to put that on there so that when I climb, I'm not going to end up falling down to the bottom or something. Is that right? I don't know. Yeah, is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure how you get over there to get the.
You go all the way up to the right now, right?
Yeah, but how?
It's got to be something to do with this plant pot. I know. What if I put the plant pot on the
on the other side.
Yeah.
So we need to get rid of the ball off that platform so it'll come back up again.
What about if we put the plant pot on here and I drop it and then I sort of wait here? Perhaps it will come all the way up. Oh no, it won't. Not
You
that-
can't jump over onto that platform.
I can jump over there. Oh,
Can you jump
maybe.
onto the
Oh, you
next
know
one?
what though? No, look. Maybe I have to come down that ladder. Look, you see on the other side.
Yeah,
Just come down that ladder and get that cup. That ladder.
Maybe.
That's the well. I think that's the well.
this is the well, isn't it? I thought.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no. I think it's the grave. I think that might be the grave. Maybe then. Not sure. Oh, and we're dead. Anyway, that's a good game. I like it. I got to say.
Yeah, that was fun.
I think we could have a bit of fun with
It's
that.
got some interesting physics. Sort
Yeah,
of.
yeah. I would. I mean,
puzzles.
I don't know. Another game. There are this one Bruce Lee and there's one more which is the Goonies. You remember the film Goonies?
Yeah.
Have you played that? Have you played that?
I
Have you
haven't,
played the
no.
game?
No.
It's also like that, you know.
Ah, that sounds fun too.
Yeah. Well, we can look at it just for a second, right? Just give very quickly, before we do the coding. I don't know. People seem to like looking at these old games anyway, don't they?
Oh, it's good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, we last week, Dom, we did something similar where we picked a game that, like a game from the time that was similar to the one we were trying out. Well, no, not from the time. We picked another homebrew, didn't we? So we compared one game with another, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of
I did
interesting.
have a quick look because I think you sent me a link to the games. But one of them was a very, very short demo. It would only play for a short period of time.
That's
Did you
right.
have the
Yeah,
same?
yeah.
Which made it a bit irritating. And the other one, for some reason, the only way I could get it to load was in like real time. I couldn't get it to run unless I loaded it in real time. So I did load it, but then it crashed. Didn't get very far.
This is one of those games that you should play on the Commodore 64.
I've seen this. Yeah,
'Cause
I
this is-
remember this now.
This is bloody terrible. Look at those graphics. Those graphics are really bad. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my god.
There's something kind of appealing about it, I think. No way.
Come on, they're bloody horrible. Well, there we go. What you got to do? Push the chair, climb on the chair maybe, and then I don't know. Climb the chair. Climb the chair. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Get the computer. Oh, and then she goes out there. Ah, I see. So she goes out there because she's trying to get her money. And then presumably you've got to run or something, right? So yeah, something similar. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting because you know these old games, right? I guess we've got to just leg it, right? Oh, I'm never gonna
So you
make
can
it.
so you distract her and then you can get past.
Yeah. Because they were trying stuff, weren't they, when they were making these
Yeah.
games, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's things that you'll see in games later down the line.
Absolutely.
A lot of the time as well, you know, some of these games on later machines like, you know, the Amiga or even the PC or whatever. Oh, I see what I've got to do. I've got to wait until she's right down the other end, probably, right?
Yeah, and this has got a lot of
Like,
mechanics going.
If I
A
wait,
little
if I put
block.
it all the way over there and then trigger it, right, then it's going to take her longer to get there.
Distract. I mean, this is like Tenku Stealth Assassin on the Spectrum.
Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, so a lot of the kids who grew up playing these games then found themselves, you know, stealing ideas from some of those early adventures that they played, like this,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, you would do, wouldn't you?
and then yeah. So we don't just play the odd homebrew. We do discover the odd. If I stay in here, does that just keep happening then? Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't a way that you can switch characters or. Okay, so as soon as one of those things falls, I should leg it, right? Because no, I'm never going to make that. What am I supposed to do? No.
Yeah, you can get to the corner, but it doesn't seem to help, does it?
If only we had a walkthrough or something. You know, I don't like figuring things out. I just. Anyway. All right. Well, that was Goonies. We said we'd have a quick look at that. That's also not bad. It's one of those things where you can say again that the graphics are nothing special, but it probably doesn't matter all that much. And Dom thinks it's charming, so.
I think there is something quite nice about it. The colours on it. It's like kind of cool. Yeah.
You do like your sort of minimalism, don't you? Really, with your images, you know, like reduce them down to their like bare functionality, so that everything is economy, right? Economy. That's interesting because I mean, I teach writing as well. I mean, not sort of not sort of literature, just essay writing for teenagers. But economy is a really big kind of factor, you know.
Absolutely.
It's about, that's the same in gaming, especially on the 8-bit machines.
Yeah.
You know, it's
if
like
you can
making
say a lot with a little, then you can get a lot out of your 16K, can't you?
Yeah. Let's say it's like a pot of soup, you know. You can have a pot of soup that's just water, or you can, you know, put as many vegetables and sort of meat and bits and pieces and then really fill it up to a tasty stew that's still 1 liter. You haven't sort of expanded it, just made it richer, right? And that's really that's the kind of thing that you want to try and do. I'm going to assume that we have to try and put that water fire out before we do anything else, but anyway, that's that. Let's go and do some coding. We still got people watching there. We've got a couple of people watching. Presumably you guys are watching. So there's 3 others. Probably Mitsuyama. Frozen Well, you still here? Is there a thing that shows you who's there?
I don't think so.
Like a list where you can just see everybody. I think it says community. Fortunately, I haven't heard the cat at all.
Dom, what was your game called?
Vectornauts, his game is.
Vectornauts, that's the one.
Hello, Rogue. Again. What's yeah, I don't know if there's a way of, you know, you ought to be able to just like click on something and it'll tell you. I mean, look, obviously some people do Twitch and there's like 20,000 people watching, so maybe that's the reason you can't do it. Yeah, anyway, I'm guessing perhaps Mitsuyama and Ro still here, and maybe Retro still here, Retro Eerie. Anyway, we'll keep at it. Right. Dom is away, is he?
Yeah, I think he must be.
You know, I don't think what I wanted to talk about today was maybe like looking at how to write little routines that you can then run inside of AGD, right? Because I think we've got enough coding knowledge to do some really basic things like that, right? So
maybe, I mean, and I mean, we probably have the knowledge to do little, utilities that run from command line. But how I don't even know how you would like put something like that into AGDX to get it to run. You know, how does it all link in?
Well, there you go. I can show you. It's not that tricky. Yeah, it's not that tricky at all. Yeah, I could show you, for example, how to. We did the color bar thing, right? Didn't we? We did the color bar code. Yeah, I could show you how to put that color bar code into AGD so that it would run when a level loaded, for example.
Okay.
Whether that be how useful that would be, I don't know. But anyway, but because I'm on this laptop, I don't know where. I don't know if I've got a copy of AGD. But hey, guess what? I can go to AGDX online and download my own custom copy. How about that? If I can remember, if I can. Yeah. Okay. So, what do I want? I don't want anything really. Just a very simple raw version of AGD. Yeah, that's handy, isn't it? Oh, nice. Okay, I'll just get a raw, just a vanilla, please. No sprinkles, no raspberry sauce, no flake. You think I ever thought it was unusual? You know when you get like a 99 flake and you can have, you get raspberry sauce on it, right? Why is it raspberry? I mean, it's a bit left field, don't you think? I mean, I wouldn't have expected.
The ice cream bands that I go to, you can get raspberry, strawberry, toffee, chocolate.
Wow. So, well, that's because you're in bloody Cambridge. That's why. You know, you can probably get truffle sauce on there. Truffle oil. Do you want truffle oil? Do you want truffle oil on your gelato?
Caviar doesn't quite go with it, though.
Truffle oil on your gelato, you know, with your biscuit base and whatever else it is. No, we just have 99 flakes where we're from. You're lucky. You know, the only sprinkles you get is if you drop it on the floor. I think you get, I'll tell you what, Andy. There's no doubt about this, and I'm sure Dom's going to tell you now. Is it not true? Devon is the home of ice cream in the UK, is it not?
Certainly is.
Well, I'm pleased that you guys feel this way.
Well, it's just known, isn't it? It's like black pudding is from Berry. As far as I know. Yeah. I mean, Devon ice cream. It's that, and it's sort of buttery and more yellow than regular.
Yeah.
Very tasty. Yeah. So you probably know your ice cream then, or are you not a fan?
No, I like ice cream. Yeah.
No? Yeah. I mean, who doesn't, eh? When I was in Azerbaijan, I had this butter, just bread and butter, and the butter was so tasty. It was like ice cream. It was just amazing. Anyway, enough about that. Okay, so I've put AGD up here, but I just want to show you. Yeah, there's a thing in AGD that allows you to run code, right? External code, right?
Yeah.
Now, normally, there are different ways of doing that, but the simplest and safest way of doing it is to put it into the font area, right?
Yeah.
Because the reason for that is that, like you see here, there's all these numbers, right? In AGD, you got all these numbers. Mm-hmm. Well, that's basically telling you where everything is stored and how big it is.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm with you. I've done a little bit of this actually.
Yeah. So you don't actually. I mean, a lot of the time you won't necessarily use these. I mainly used these for importing data. Before I had the actual auto data option there. Under D where you can load the data. So I don't use that as much as I did, but sometimes it's useful when you got something that doesn't work, or if you want to back something up or whatever. I mean, it's not really as useful as it used to be, but yeah. So you can use that if you go to this one, choose edit pointers here. You can actually free up space. If you look at the lowest number here, you'll see that the lowest number is sprites, right? 36631. and that's where
Okay.
that's where the game data more or less begins.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's blocks, and then it's screens, and then it's, I think, a few other things. I mean, the jump table is below that, and the map is below that, but that's not the game data. So, and as you add more things, then the memory everything gets pushed further up the memory. So, but the sprites are always in the same place. Well, depending on the build that you've got, right? So, in this example, I've got a regular AGD, but I've got the AYFX, the built-in AYFX of AGD. I've got those turned off in this one. So that's why it's saved a little bit of memory. But that's always fixed with whichever engine that you're using. It'll be fixed. All these other ones will change. Like, so, right, for example, if I add a sprite like this, right, 2 sprites there, you'll see that all of these numbers have changed, right? Because I've put 390 bytes, I filled 390 bytes of sprite data in that area there, right?
Yep.
All the rest got pushed down. So it's difficult to put code anywhere really, because everything's getting moved when you add things.
Yeah.
So there's only really 2 things you can do. One is that you can use the edit pointers, and you can free up. You can sort of add space, like this. You see it's going 33, 34, 38, 39, 50, or I can add it by 50s or even by hundreds. Yeah? And what I'm doing there is I'm freeing up space just below the sprites. So I am pushing the sprites up, and everything else is getting pushed up. And that means that the area where the sprites were, there's now an empty block. There's an empty block of data, which would be at, I'll just reset that back, which would be at 36631. So I could put code in there and it would be fixed. Because when you've got executable code, you kind of want it to stay where it is, right? Because otherwise if you move it, you're going to end up, like your jumps are going to be different and stuff, right? Potentially. So, yeah, so that's one way. But it's usually simpler if you've got space. The font is stored just below the sprites as well, and so if you're not going to use all the font, then you can basically reserve a little bit of space. Yeah, and what I find is that you can. I mean, aside from using, say, that like the square brackets and things like this, or the colon and whatever. What you can do, it's a little bit hassly, but what you can do is, for example, I was looking at that Andy in Nixie, for example. I found that let's say, for example, you didn't use if I for example used the letter Y for Nixie, but used a Q instead. You didn't have the letter Q in any of your text, right? So I put the letter Y as the letter Q, and you didn't have Z or X or W or V, right? So then it would free up that whole space. But then every time you wanted the letter Y, you'd have to type the letter Q. You see? Or you could you don't have to use the letter Q, of course. You could use like a colon here or whatever, right? So you might play about with that a little bit. If you were really desperate for space, you might reorder your letters so that it freed up a longer area of text. So you can do that. But if you want to add small routines, then it's fairly easy to do. And the other thing, of course, you can do, if you have a slightly bigger routine, then just use one font, one set of letters, and don't use the smaller letters. I mean, a lot of games get by fine using only a single font, really. So
you don't really
upper or lowercase. Well, Andy does, because he's funny like that. He likes his lowercase. But anyway. No, it's not actually true. You actually use a lot of those, don't you, for like custom redefinable characters, right?
Yeah.
So that's doable as well, although you don't get color, so then you have to mess about with colors and different things.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so hopefully this is going to make a bit more sense to you now, because if you remember Let's say, for example, we wanted to put some code in. Well, let's say we want to put it in here, right? We're not going to use lowercase. We wanted to put it in there. Now, do you see the numbers here, right?
Yeah.
31744, 0, and 124, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? What are those two numbers there, do you think? Bearing in mind, right, this character, remember characters, how many bytes in a character? 8, right?
8.
Okay, watch. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. Yeah, we go all the way across. And all the way across, right? To 250, 48, like that, right? And if we go up, if we go up 1, 1, 2, 4, there's 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 2, right? 16, there are 32 characters here, yeah?
Yeah.
Each one is 8 bytes, which is 256 bytes, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your low byte and your high byte of the address of the font, where the font is stored, yeah?
Which are the bottom two numbers.
Yeah, that's your low byte and your high byte. And if you look, if you take, say for example, I'll just pick one at random like this. Sorry, I've just, like for example, E, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So 124 multiplied by 256, yeah, is 31744, right? Plus 40, plus 40, that's your address, you see?
So the top one's the address.
Yeah, the top one is the actual 16-bit address, and the lower two are the low byte and the high byte, right? And the reason that I've put those there is because in AGD script you can only deal with 8-bit numbers, but you can actually put assembly code to call an address. And if you want to call the address that you've put in a font, for example, then all you need to do is use the code for call, which I think is in decimal. I think it's C9 in hex.
So using the 40 and the 124, we could call that E in a bit.
Yeah, that will call. If I put, I'll show you now. Just 1 second. I just need to get the. I just need to double check the code for calling a specific address, which is CD in hex. So what's CD in decimal? I think it's 205. Yeah, 205. Yeah. So in an AGD script, if I wanted to call something, I would in AGDX anyway. You just use dot, right? Which means this is raw assembly. 205, which means call, yeah. And then 40, and then say 123, right?
Awesome.
And that's raw assembly code for call the address that we've got in here, right? Here. So whichever those two numbers, these two numbers here, we put 205 followed by these two numbers, and that will call. So all we need to do, if we write a routine, we need to org. Remember, org tells the code where to begin. We org it to the right address, and then we load it as a binary into here, right? And then from the code, we can just call it like that. And so I can show you how we do that. So we've got this is a really fun way of being able to practically use code that you've written in an actual game or whatever, right? This is one of the very first things that I learned in assembly, was how to, like, you can in AGD you could write if room equals this, then run this code, else run this code, and it would change the color of the blocks.
Cool.
So that you could use the same blocks, but they would be a different color. Like one of the things in the game that there's a Monty Mole game that Andy and I worked on for quite a while where, you're kind of going deeper under the ground. So we had this kind of.
I think I had a look at. There were a couple of Monty
Yeah,
games.
well, this was we never released this one. It was like an extended version of Lost Souls, right? Andy, you still there?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I wrote this. We will use that code eventually in something, but it was it kind of generated rocks and things based on a single tile. So you didn't have to use different tiles for the rocks. It would randomize them and make them.
That's exciting, isn't it? That kind of coding.
Yeah. So the rooms didn't need to have you didn't need to design them. It kind of randomized them, and then it added plants and a few other things. It wasn't quite as bespoke as Andy would probably like it, but it did the job, and it saved a lot of memory. So obviously, if you do that, then it allows you to do other things. It's a trade-off. But and one of the things that we did was the game could kind of detect, by looking at the map, it could detect how deep in the map you were. So because you've got rows of rooms, so if you were deeper down, the deeper down you were, at the top it would be yellow, and then it would go deeper and it would be red, and then if you go deeper it would be dark blue, something like this.
Right.
So so again, this is a memory saving thing, but it also kind of helps with knowing where you are on the map. It gives you a bit more of an idea.
Yeah.
Makes the rooms a bit more distinctive, and it meant that you could put the same room, more or less the same room, in one place as another. But if you put it in another place, it'd be a different color at least, so you wouldn't get as confused. Yeah. So anyway, have we got this on the screen? Let me make sure everything's all hunky dory there, because we've got this.
I have to say I didn't follow the what those two numbers did.
Well, don't worry. Don't worry, because it'll. All right, fair enough. But don't worry, because it'll become clear when I show you guys this now. I guess I'll switch over. Let me quickly switch over to the. I'll switch to the old. Just a minute. Switch windows is what I'm trying to say. If I'm on Discord, if I can get to Discord, just a minute. It's kind of confusing because on OBS, I've got the same window as I have on Discord, because I can see you guys there. So, right, let me see. Stop streaming. No, switch window. We'll switch over to the code briefly. Okay. This is just for you guys, not the stream. The stream can see all of this anyway. But okay, so right, you've got the code there. You can keep up with that, and the code is clear on the screen. Yes, guys, on the stream.
Yeah, it's there.
Only a couple of guys watching the stream anyway. But hello to all the future people who are watching it later. Yeah. So okay, so we got the code. We got this code that we did last week, right? And it just you remember what it does, right? It just does like color bars, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So let's
Oh, it's the same thing we did this the week before as well, right? A similar.
Well, we followed it up. Yeah, we followed up from the one from the one that you did. We followed it up with another one which is similar.
Yeah, I did watch a little bit of it, but I didn't see the whole thing.
The one that we did with yours was we did every time it stepped forward, it did a different attribute, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But in this case, what we did was we made some color bars. So I guess I'll talk you through it. Seeing as you haven't watched it, even though you're supposed to. Okay.
I did put it on, but I tried to condense the entire 2-hour 45 thing into about half an hour, so I didn't.
You got lost in the chit chat and the banter and all of that, eh?
I enjoyed you snipping the roses in EastEnders.
It's funny because I was thinking about that just the other day. Again, it came back to me. I really do think that as strange as it may seem, the potential for sort of 5 or 6 mini games could actually be quite good if it was done properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of like the one with the taxi driving around, the one with the what were the other ones? I can't remember. But you could have like a bit like Tapper with the punters coming in the pub. You could have the washing machines. You got to keep putting put the powder in and switch them, collect them, and do the thing. And
Actual, yeah.
there was another one I can't remember, but snipping the flowers was a bit rubbish. But even that could be, with bees and stuff. You could do something like pissed, right?
Yeah, that was a fun little game.
Right. So
What's she doing? Wait.
we put color bars like that, didn't we? Right. Yeah, we basically made a set of bars
Cool.
of color like that, right? If we go back to you'll catch up on the stream now if you're watching. Just watch on the stream now. Here it goes in a minute. It should. And we'll. Wow, the stream's a bit far behind now, isn't it? Because it's still not there. But anyway. Yeah. So look, well, we're looking at the old code here, right? So we want to adapt this to work within AGD, right? So what we'll do is we'll go back to that instance of AGD, and then we'll look at this and say, right, let's say we put it here. To be honest, we might as well put it at 31704 because that's going to give us all of that space, right? So 31704 is the address that we want to org at, right? So you see here, remember 49152 was what we used, but here then we're going to use 31704 in decimal. I'm realizing now you guys can't see you can't see that on the stream, so this is going to get a little bit confusing, but I have to wait for the stream to catch up, I suppose. Yeah,
I'm just watching it on the stream at the minute.
yeah, I'll wait for it to catch up, and then I'll just repeat myself. Okay, so here I'm looking at the font, right? And what I'm saying is, if we start at the square bracket, you can see that starts at 31704. That square bracket, so we might as well start it from there. 31704 is where we can load our code, right? So what I'm doing then is I'm going to the notepad here and I'm putting in 31704 as the start address that we want for our code. Yeah? I could put that in hexadecimal, but because I'm looking at the AGD, the reason it's all in decimal there is it uses the ROM routine for printing numbers, and there isn't a ROM routine for printing hex numbers. So it's just easier to print it in decimal because there's a routine for that within the ROM. So yeah. Anyway, what we're doing then, you remember we load 5800 start, which is the start.
We're doing color stuff.
Yeah. So
was that right? Am I remembering that right?
Start address of attributes is at 5800, right? And then C, we're going to store C. With C, we are starting with attribute 8, which is blue paper and black ink, right? And you can see that there. You'll remember. You remember Dom that here are 8 bits. This one is flash. This one is bright. These 3 are paper. These 3 are ink. So we're starting here, and that is the number 8. Yeah. We're using D as our loop counter. In this case, and as our first loop counter, we've got 2 loop counters. We normally use B as a loop counter, but because we've got a nested loop, we're going to use D as well, right?
Okay.
Now, we're not using the stack. We did use the stack. Andy knows about the stack. You don't, so it's good that we're not using it, right, for now. So don't worry about that. So this is number of rows, right? And
6 rows loaded up to D.
And this, yeah, and this one is number of columns. Okay. So, and here, copy our attribute into HL, the current attribute address, right? So that's currently, HL is currently at 5800, right? Next attribute along. And then, do you remember this one, Dom? DJNZ?
No.
Decrease and jump if not 0, right?
Oh, wow, okay.
So, and this works with, this only works with register B. So B is often used as a counter. So decrease B, and if B is not 0, go to at loop 1. If you want, I can put that in basic, and there's a simple way. It would be this: let B equal B minus 1 if B does not equal 0, then go to at loop 1, right?
Good.
That makes sense now, right? That's what
Yeah.
that's what DJNZ does.
Got it. That's a neat little thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very handy. So DJNZ, decrease and jump if not 0. It's your main sort of choice for doing loops. If you, as long as a register B is free. Sometimes it isn't, you know. So,
Yeah.
But you can use other registers. Okay, so that part there, as I hope you can understand, that does 32. That's a loop of 32, and it goes from the one side of the screen to the other.
That makes sense. Yeah.
All right, and then by the time it's finished, L has increased, and it'll then be on the next row. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So then what we need to do is we need to add. We need to go from paper of blue to paper of red, right? Now, because paper, so we have to add 8 because paper is 3 bits across, right? So this is 1, and this is 2, and this is 4, and this is 8. So every time you want to increase the paper, you got to add 8. Yeah. So what we do, and remember, addition can only be done in the accumulator, right? So put the color into A, because we do that so that we can add it, right? Add 8 to A.
Right. Yeah. You put the color into the accumulator.
Yeah.
I see.
You can't add directly to C, right?
Got it. Yes, I get you. Yeah. So you put it into.
A is the only one. It's low level language, you know. So, and then add 8 to the accumulator, and then put the color back into C. So it's now 8 more than it was. Yeah.
This makes sense. Yep.
Good.
Yep.
And then we decrease the row counter.
Okay. Sure.
Right.
So we go into that next row.
Because we've got 6, and then we go down to 5, right? Now there's
and keep going down.
yeah,
0,
and if it's 0, and then it says
that's
here
the
jump relative if not 0, right?
Okay.
So what happens is that most of the time we've got things called flag register, right? And there are flags, and the most common flags you'll use are Z and C. I did explain this in a previous stream, right? So most of the time, so if a register hits 0 via a mathematical function, yeah, then the 0 flag will be triggered, right? It basically says if the result is 0, the 0 flag will be triggered and you can test for it, right?
Okay.
So most of the time, that's going
makes
to
sense.
most of the time that's going to be the accumulator, right? Because most of the mathematics that you do are done on the accumulator. But you've got a very basic thing that you can do on each register, which is dec or inc, increase or decrease, yeah?
Okay.
So you can do a mathematical function on the registers, but you can do subtraction and addition, but only by 1, if you see what I mean, right?
Yep. Yep.
But nevertheless, if you do that, if you do dec D and then D hits 0, then the 0 flag will be triggered, and you can then test for it, right? You can test for 0, JRZ, and you can test for not 0, yeah, as well.
Got it.
And incidentally, you can also use C, which is the carry flag, and that'll actually test for if it goes below 0. Yeah.
Okay.
So the carry flag is when it clocks. You know, like a speedometer goes from 0, it goes 9999 and then back to 0 again.
Yeah.
That's called a carry, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
that makes sense.
yeah, you can use a carry. Like, say you wanted to count to something higher than 255, then you could keep increasing, and then if it carried, you would add 1 to another register, and you could then count higher than 255, right? Do you see what I mean?
Sure.
You could count in blocks of 255.
10 to 256 because it was a new one.
Yeah. Again, like adding an extra number to the dial, if you like, right? But so yeah, Andy, do you remember you remember the carry as well? Yeah.
Vaguely.
Yeah. Well, carry basically means it's carried over. You know, like when you did maths in school, right? And you did like 5 minus 4 is 1, but then you go when you do long subtractions, whatever. If you go like 3 minus 7, you'd be like, all right, and then that's like 4 carry 1, right? You remember?
Yeah.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, it's the same principle. So what we're doing there is if D hits 0, if D doesn't hit 0, yeah, then we go all the way back to here at loop 2, and then we do another row with 32 columns across, and we go again, and then the same thing happens, and then it does that 6 times, and that's how you get those 6 rows, yeah. And then at the end, you just press ret. You say ret, and it'll jump back to wherever it came from, right?
So it's return, is it?
Yeah. So if I just compile this, right? Let's see. Okay. Right. And this is where Andy, pay attention here, Andy. This is important.
I am.
Okay. Right. Now, you guys can see this, right? The address here.
Yeah.
And I've orged it at 31704, right?
I don't have this. I need to get this. I don't get this text file when I compile.
Oh,
so I need
okay.
to
All right. Well,
work
you know
out.
the when you get the when you press execute, yeah?
Yeah.
There's just a minute. I'm going to copy and paste what I do, and then you can see it, because I don't think you can see that. Can you see this execute screen? I don't think you can, no?
No.
Right.
No.
Okay. So in the execute screen, there's an instruction, and on mine it looks like this. This is not assembly code. This is script for Notepad++. Just to be clear for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So what it does, npp save, that says Notepad++, save the current file, right? This is a bit like DOS. CD the current directory, and then
Oh, hold on. So I have to open that file, do I? Thanks.
well no, that's like, it comes up when you press F7. There's like an instruction, and you can add to it. This is a it's a bit of a tangent, to be honest, but
Yeah.
Yeah, when you run, if you watch the video I did about this, you can this option here, right? This option here tells it to create an output with all the addresses, and this tells it to open it when you've compiled it, right?
Okay.
So the normal command, this is again Notepad++, guys. So the normal command might be something like this: just assemble it, right? But you can add an extra bit to the command line, which will create a file name that uses the same file name as the file that you've just assembled, and then open it as a text file, right? So when you've done it, it'll.
Okay.
That's what this is, right? This is like a summary of the map of the memory map, right? This is a memory map of what we've just compiled there. You see, what we just assembled. Huh? Now this part here, if you look, guys, do you understand that this number here, 7BD8, is the first address in memory of where our code is stored, right?
Right.
Yep. So 7BD8 is what in decimal? You don't calculate it. You don't need to calculate it.
31704.
Exactly. Good. There you go.
Oh, I see.
Right. So I've written here 31704, but I could write 7BD8 instead, right?
Yeah.
So in fact, let's do that. We'll go back and we'll write here 7BD8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this time we will do an actual calculation. What is 7B in hexadecimal? In binary? In decimal, sorry, third time lucky. Right. What is 7B?
I can't remember how you put the two together now, so it's
right. Well, we'll go. I mean, look, we can use the calculator, right? We can go
11, right? So is that right?
Well, yeah. Don't worry about doing it in your head. Just use a calculator. 7B is 1, 2, 3, right? And D8. D8 in hex. In decimal, it is 216, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit
Andy,
slow on this.
You clear with that?
No.
Okay, it's straightforward, isn't it?
All right. I have no idea what that is.
Okay, all right. Look, 7BD8, you know that's the address that our code is at, right?
Yes.
We got that far, right? And you know that when we store numbers, they're not really 16-bit. There are two 8-bit numbers, this one and this one. Yeah. And those are hexadecimal numbers, right?
Yeah.
But they can also be they can also be expressed as a decimal, yeah? They can be converted to decimal.
Sure.
Right? So this is our high byte, yeah? And this is our low byte. 2 bytes. Two 8-bit numbers, right? Two 8-bit numbers.
Oh.
Right? To create the address, the full address, 7BD8.
Right. So they in no way add up to the number that we were just talking about. They are just numbers that
no, they do add
are
up.
Converted from hexadecimal into decimal.
Yes. I mean, they do add up if you go like this. If you say 123 times 256, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the high byte, right? And then you add 216, then that will be 31704, right?
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah? Clear? Not clear?
Yeah.
It's sort of making some sense.
Well, you know, look, if you do it in decimal, right? It's a bit like, let's say
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. That does
Yeah?
make
Are you
sense.
sure?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
All
Yeah, I
right.
was just,
Because
yeah,
look, if you did it in decimal, right? If you had like, you know that like, so when you're in decimal, you go in like 1, and then you go in 10, and then it's like hundreds, right? So like 321 is like that, isn't it? 321 is 3 hundreds, 2 tens, and a 1, right?
Yeah.
So in binary,
yeah,
you'd be like one. You have 1 4, no twos, and a 1. Yeah, that's 5. Yeah,
yeah,
and so after. And if you have a bigger number, like you'd have 128 and 132 and a 2. Yeah, see what I mean?
yeah,
Sure.
Okay. So, and if you go then from to the next byte along, if you imagine there's another byte here, then because that one's 128, this one's going to be 256. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why when you want to know when you do the high byte, right? This high byte 7B here, yeah. What it actually represents is 7B00, right?
yeah,
In the same way as if I write 2,341, right? Then that's 41, and that's 2,300. You see?
Right. So we times it by whatever to
Yeah,
shift
but
it.
instead of timesing it by 100, we're going to be times it by 256 because we got 8 bits,
Okay. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
yeah,
That's fine.
yeah,
Look, it's important to keep revising that stuff because
yeah,
that's like the fundamentals of coding, right? Like once you
yeah,
get that and you're comfortable with it, it really isn't that tricky. This is the wall that people struggle with, right? But once you know
yeah,
once you understand that, a lot of it starts to make a lot more sense, right?
yeah,
So okay, Andy. So do you understand? We've got an address and we represent it in 2 bytes.
yeah,
7B, which in decimal is 123,
yeah,
and D8 is a low byte, which in decimal is 216, right?
yes,
Okay, so now if you now look on the stream at the AGD, and you can see the number
yeah.
31704, and the other 2 numbers you can see are...
It's off the screen.
No, it's on the stream. It's on the stream.
Oh,
I've left it on the stream for you. See?
right, well, I'm looking at AGD.
Yes.
Yeah, it's off the top. I can't see it.
Well, I can see it on the stream.
Yeah. It's on there for me. Maybe you've got your stream screen off the edge of your.
Should I drop it down? I'll drop it
No,
down.
it's,
I'll drop it down a touch for you. It'll probably
it's
take
full.
a minute.
It's full screen for me. Hold on.
Oh, that's strange.
Oh, if I go full screen, it shows me more at the top. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Right, so 216 and 123.
There you go. So when we're looking at where we're storing the font, it's giving us the 2 bytes that we need, yeah, to get the address of the code that we've written, right? So those numbers represent 2 bytes, which will represent 31704, which is where our code is, right? So if we go back to our assembly code, right? I'm going to delete that now. Okay.
Just out of interest, why do you have it low byte then high byte on that screen?
Because that's the way that the Spectrum stores it in its memory. Right?
Okay.
The assembler. Well, if you actually look at this, let me show you here. If I see there, it's got load HL 5800. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But look at how it's actually assembled. You'll see it goes 00 and then 58. You see?
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. If you think about it, it's kind of a little bit more logical in a way, kind of, because it's the low byte, and then the high byte. It's in ascending order. If you see what I mean.
Right.
But
okay.
I think that's called. I think it's called big endian, right? If I remember rightly, it means that the bigger number is at the end.
Nice.
Right.
Right? You got little endian and big.
I've heard of that. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, but that's essentially how when if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because it's loading in bytes, right? So you tell it, okay, this is the smaller byte first, and now shift across, and now load the bigger
Yeah.
byte, and now you've got the two numbers. You see?
Yeah. Okay.
So whenever you see an address, a 16-bit address, remember there aren't really 16-bit addresses in Z80, right? It's 8-bit, but you're working in pairs, right? And the pairs together will be combined to create an address. But strictly speaking, it's actually looking at one and then the other and processing it. It's not, you know, as far as I know. But anyway, yeah, that's how you do it. So on the when you're calling it directly as assembly, you do it in the order that the computer expects, right? When you're assembling it like this, you do it in the order that's human readable, because this is human readable.
Yeah.
This is not what the machine reads, right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's just for your benefit, so to speak, right? So we've got our, so I've assembled it there, and you can see we've got it here, and we know that it's starting at that address, and it's going to return. So all we need to do now is we can actually switch over to AGD again, right? And put that into the memory, and then we can run it, right? So let's see what happens if we do that, right? So I'll go to here, and we'll switch windows, right? Just bear with me.
So you're literally putting this in over some of the letters code of AGD now.
Yeah, well, you'll see what happens when we do it.
You'll see it make squiggles and
Yeah.
corrupt it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's there, right? Can you see that now? Has it gone live? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, this is interesting because this is quite a nice way of showing. So this is 31704, and where we know that that's there. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to open a binary, right? You can't see the prompt, but I'm going to load it in at 31704. Yeah. It won't be immediately visible, so I'll come out and I'll go back in, right? Now, if I now go across, you'll see here, you see there, that's a little bit of code there, right? And in fact, look, this is kind of cute in a way, because look, if you look back at the original code as it's assembled, right? You remember it was 21, 0, 0, and then 58, Andy. You remember that, yeah? Well, 58 is like hexadecimal, right? But what you'll see then is that that is actually a binary representation of the code, because it's in pixels. It is actually a binary representation. It's actually very, very close to what the machine itself reads, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So this one is well, you can see that's 128, that's 64, so that's 32 plus 1. That's 33 in decimal, yeah? Whereas this one is 64 plus 16, so that's what's that? 80 plus 8, right? So that would be 80. 88? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 0 and 88. So if you multiply 88 by 256, then you'll find that that's actually 22528, which is the address of the attributes, right?
Brilliant.
So that is literally what you're looking at there. It's almost like punch card, isn't it? But it's actually that's the actual code there, and that's all. And you see, it's a very tiny amount of memory that's doing this. It's just 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's three character squares, which is 24 bytes in total. Yeah. Yeah. And that is all the machine needs to get its instructions to do.
Oh, I'd like to learn to do that. Can we do that?
You just want to code. You want, like, I can actually recode, change the code by just adding bits and taking them away there. Right? But anyway, that's that code, right? And if we want to run it, then all we need to do is call that from within AGD, right? Now, now the thing to bear in mind is that AGD is in a loop, right? Yes. So we don't want it in. We don't want to keep calling it, because then we'll be I mean, it will work, but it'll be doing
Yeah.
it every single time
Yeah.
during the game loop, right? So it's not really good. So what we would want to do instead is just maybe call it once when the game loads a screen, for example, right? So say I've got a screen like this. I mean, obviously, well, what we do is, I guess we'll change the window like that, right? So that it's a full window. Okay, so that's our game window, right?
Yeah.
And if I then want to run our code, well, I tell you what, let's just do a quick. Okay, I'm just doing a template here so that we can get a very quick.
Yeah, sounds like you go on.
Right, so
Yeah.
that's fine. We just got to. No, it'll fine. We haven't got any barrier around the edges, have we? So.
No.
But anyway, that's fine. That'll do. Well, it's fine. Okay, so what we want to do now is just run that code from here. So knowing a little bit about well, you know what, we can just run it in the game loop if you want to. That's easy enough, but it'll be running it every time. But we'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll do that initially. Let's say we want to run it in the main loop, right? So like when we did that star animation thing, sparkly stars for your game, Andy, you know, we ran that in the main loop. But you can also run it within an if statement where, you know, like use a counter, and so it only runs every 2 cycles or 3 cycles or.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's also possible. I mean, we could go back and change the code so that it cycles colors rather than just a single. You know, so every instance, if it's run a second time, it'll start from a different color, right? Well, maybe we'll do that. If we got time. We're doing all right for time. Doing well tonight, actually, aren't we? I feel like we're cooking on gas, really. So 205 is the code assembly directive for call, right?
Yeah.
So when we do a dot, it means I'm going to give you a raw instruction in assembly.
Yeah.
And 205 is the decimal for call.
Okay.
And then the other 2 numbers, can you remember what they were? We can always go back.
3104.
216 and 123, right?
Sorry, the high byte and the low byte. I was.
Yeah.
Over press.
So it's 216 and then 123, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just in a second then. 216 and 123. So that's in the main game loop, and that is going to run every time we call within the game loop. But we don't really want to do that, but we can. Yeah. So if we now run it, that should work, and there you go. Right. So we've got our color bar there, and but it's running every game loop. So if you want to make it only run once, then you should put some kind of condition on it, right? So when you restart the screen, well, you could run it when you restart the screen, but that won't actually work because it'll run it. Well, in fact, let me show you what would happen if we do that. You'll see what will happen, right? So I'll take it out of here, and we'll run it at restart screen, like this. What was it? 20 what? I can't remember.
216 and 123.
Say again. 216 and 123. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Did you see what happened? Watch closely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It gets cleared.
Yeah. So why does it get cleared? Because it's running at the start of the restart screen, but that's before the screen is drawn.
It's drawn,
right?
Drawn, yeah. Yeah.
So that's why that's no good. You can't have it there.
Okay.
All right. So what I normally do, that's just like, this is like an AGD trick, I suppose. I put let rand 255, right? Because random numbers normally between, if you want a random number, then you won't get a random number 255 normally. You normally have rand 20 or 30. So if you do that, you just need to remember, don't use a random number of 255. That's like, you've got your limit of randomness to 254 now, if you do that.
Okay.
Because otherwise it'll trigger that, right? So you can use a random, you could set a limit on your random number, say 200, and then when you're coding, don't ever create a random number of more than 255, and you should be okay. Then again, you might use the rand as a spare variable, so you have to be careful with that as well. But we can do it like this: if rand equals 255, right?
Yeah.
And then 205, 216, 123, yeah?
Yeah.
Let rand 0.
Yeah.
Right? And then we end if like this. So that's what that does is it's going to run that code once because rand is going to be 0, and the 255 only gets triggered when you load a screen. So that means it'll be run at the start of every time a screen is updated, right? So you can do it that way, and then it'll work. You see?
Yeah.
Look, we've almost written a breakout clone already. Look at that. So, right. So that's kind of cool. Let's go back to the old assembler, and we'll do a little bit of coding because we haven't done any. We'll do a little bit today. That's kind of fun though. So it shows. All right, yeah, good, Tailser. Happy that makes sense. Yeah, feel free, just get an AGD and mess about with it. You can start putting bits of code in now to make it do stuff, right?
That's very cool.
So let's go back to we'll finish this up shortly because I feel like we've done a good sort of compact session here. But it's nice. It's nice when things feel like they're coming together, right?
Yeah.
I'm not feeling a lot of confusion from you guys today, so that's always always good for me as well because it means I'm getting something right my end as well. So
I think the framework of it helps understand it in some way.
That's how I first started learning because I was able to like put little bits of code in and give them like a practical use.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it, because in my theoretical. I haven't done it. I haven't done anything with it yet.
Yeah. So I don't think I'm not sharing. I'm still sharing the other screen, right? So I'll switch over for you to. Right. Okay. So we're back on the code page, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so bear in mind, right? If we run this within the game loop cycle, yeah, then all the registers, you don't know what the registers are going to be when the code starts because it's in the middle of a loop. You've got absolutely no idea. So we can't use the registers to store something. Because once it returns, the registers are a game again for any other code. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So so they're local to this point in the code. I can use them here, but once I've exited, I'm not gonna have any idea what the registers are, so I can't keep them. So what I'll do instead is I'll create something here called I don't know, color val. Yeah. Okay, now Dom, you might not know what this is. Do you know what this is?
No.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm setting a label, right, and I'm setting it right. So bear in mind, labels are just memory addresses, right? Made human readable. So directly below my code, I'm labeling the byte that is directly below my code. So it's one more byte that I'm using, yeah.
Okay.
And defb means define byte, so I'm setting that byte as 0. Now, I'm not going to use that. I'm not going to use that for code. I'm going to use it for data, right? So I'm going to set it up at the beginning as being 8, right?
Okay.
And then what I'm going to do is up here, I'm going to say load a color val, right?
Okay. Yeah. So it's putting that into the accumulator.
Yeah, and then I'm going to put load CA, and then I'm going to lose that one, right?
Now C is our attribute.
No, C. Well, C is our attribute, yeah. But all I'm doing is I'm setting C to the color val now, right?
Okay.
So it's 8. Remember, initially it was 8, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's loading it from the memory and it's then setting it. So that means that at the end of the routine down here, when we finished, I can go like this: load a color val, right?
Okay. So you sort of humanized it in terms of.
Yeah. Well, then what I'll do is I'll go inc a, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm increasing the value.
You're adding 1 to the color value.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I want to do is I want to add 8 again, don't I? Right. Something
So you're
like that.
cycling.
So yeah, I want to cycle it. Yeah, but it's going to be. I'm going to have to do a little bit more code to make that happen, right? But I'll explain it as I go. It won't be too complicated, right? So what we're doing is we're adding 8 to A, right? And then what we want to do is test if we go over a certain limit, right? So we know that we've got a loop of 6, which means we're going, the colors are 8, 16, 24, 32, 40 and 48. Is that right? I think so. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the next one after 48 would be 56, yeah? I'll explain this in a moment, right? Okay. Let me explain what I'm doing here. Andy, are you following that? Does that make sense to you?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, there was just a noise upstairs.
Right.
Upstairs.
Well, don't worry. I'm gonna explain it anyway, right? So, get the current start. This is the start color, right? That's the top of the bar, isn't it, right? So get the current start color. Add 8 to it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Did we hit 56? CP means compare, right?
Okay.
And if with a compare actually works like subtraction, but it doesn't actually subtract. But so if A is 56 and you subtract 56, the value will be 0, right? So what I'm saying is, if the value is not 0, that means it's not 56, right?
Yeah, remind me that. So it's jump. Not. So what is it? What does it stand for? The JR.
Jump if not 0.
Okay, so R is just if in the sense.
JR is jump relative, actually. Right?
Jump relative, not 0. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get these little abbreviated.
Yeah. It's very concise, isn't it? But
relative, not 0. That's a cool one because that's going to be cropping up all the time, isn't it? For all sorts.
Yeah. We've got it there as well. Look.
Yeah.
So okay. So what I'm doing here, if I did this in BASIC, right? I'll show you what it would look like. It'd be something like this, right? Let A equal color val, right? Let A equal A plus 8. Yeah?
Yeah.
if A equals 56, no, if A does not equal 56, then go to set color val, right? Now I haven't done anything there yet, but then I go let A equal 8, and then set color val here would be, wait a minute, this one would be here, load color val comma A, right?
Yeah.
So then we go here, let color val equal A. Okay? Right, so what that does, I hope you can see, is we'll add 8, yeah? And so we'll go 16, we'll go 24, we'll go 32, yeah? And if that happens, then we're just going to set the color val to the next number up, right? Update it so that the next time round, it's going to go, instead of starting with red, blue, it's going to start with red, right?
Cool.
And it's going to keep adding it, but if it adds it up, if it gets to 56, right, which is too much, it's gone over, yeah? It's going, oh, you've just hit 56. So then you'll go, oh, then don't skip it and reset it back to blue.
Got it.
Yeah? So that is that clear to you as well, Andy? Does that make sense, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I'll make sure. Yeah. Does that make sense to you in basic?
Yes, it makes sense in basic.
Yeah, so it's important to understand, right? One of the things.
So we're doing the CP. So the CP is if A is not 56. But
yeah. See, what you do in assembly, it's not quite the same as basic, right? What you often do with your if statements is you just skip things, right? You don't do this. Just jump over that bit and keep going, right?
Yeah.
So this is a shortcut for me because I know that I've got this A here, and I haven't yet put it into the memory, right?
Yeah.
So to save me kind of having to put it, I'll put it into the memory.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm going to have to put it in the memory here, right? But what I'll do is I'll check and say, well, listen, if you haven't overrun, then just put it in the memory. But if you have, set it to 8. And then it'll automatically go to the next line and it'll put it in the memory anyway. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not. So you're saving. It's efficient coding basically. It's compact.
Yeah.
It's economy, right? So you can see the same thing. You see the same thing there, right? And this is very common in assembly where you'll just jump over something.
Yeah.
And that's how you just say, don't do this. You just tell it.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just miss that bit out, right? Don't reset. So all that means is it 56? No, then don't reset. Just go, right?
Yeah.
And it's resetting it by setting the accumulator back to 8. Okay, so that's one part of it. But of course, we know that we've got a loop here, and if we start with red or if we go a bit higher up, then our paper, we're going to end up going into the bright or something, aren't we?
Right.
Because we're right?
Yeah.
So what we actually have to do is do the same thing here, right? So we're adding 8 to A here, right? And then we're going to say, well, if you hit, I guess it will be 56 again, won't it? Because it's right. So you want to also tell it to reset, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you do this, what you would do as a coder, if you were doing something like this, right? You might actually go, oh, I'm using the same code twice, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you might then say, oh, I'll just call it then. I'll call it, check the color as a routine. Well, I'll show you how we could do that, right? But for now, let's say instead we'll call this one update color, right? Or color update, I suppose, right? Okay. Load A8, and then color update here, right? Right, so I hope what you can see from this, right, is that if we're starting from a higher value, like say we start at color magenta, which is like 24, right? No, is it 32? I think it's 32, right?
Yeah.
Or 0, 8, 16, no, it is 24. Then, when we do a color bar, if we hit yellow, or if you go beyond into white, we're going to say, no, don't do white. We're going to go back and start again, right? Back to blue, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's how that would update itself, yeah? And then load C into A. So then we're updating C by resetting it there. Is that clear? I don't feel like I've fully explained it, but I'm kind of just repeating what we've already done, you see.
I think so, yeah.
Well, let me just let me show one thing on here. So with those color bars, right? When we start with the let's work with paper, right? We're going to go blue, red, magenta, green, cyan, and yellow, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about that in terms of the attributes, it's going to be 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, right?
Yeah.
But what we want to do is a cycle. So that would be the first one. But the second time around, we're going to start from 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, right? But we don't want to go to 56. Instead, we want to go back to 8.
Yeah.
Yeah? So what that's doing is it's checking, oh, did you go past 48? In which case, go back to 8. And then, and if we started from, say, 32, then it'll go back to 8 and it'll do it like that, you see? So then you'll have like the yellow, and then you'll have, when it gets to yellow, it'll be blue and red and magenta, right? So you should get like a scrolly effect. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, but we're not being very efficient there, because we're actually using almost the same code here as we are here, right?
Yes.
But it's almost not worth it, because I guess I could, I could put in a routine here where it calls call check color or something. Yeah. We can go back and do that in a minute, but essentially that should work. I mean, I don't know. I might have made a schoolboy error. It does happen. But if we go in now, the thing to bear in mind is, right, if I was to run that code in outside of AGD, it'd only run once, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
In fact, let's do that, right? Let's do that. It should work. We'll run it outside of AGD first, because I think that'd be quite a good thing to do. To do that, I'm gonna org it back at 49152, so I'm not messing with basic or anything, right? Yeah, that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So this should be a nice way of demoing it anyway. Now I'm going to switch back to the spectrum. I feel like I'm getting better at this as well. So switch window. And then let's switch window there. Okay, so we'll test our code before we put it in AGD. We don't want to accidentally wipe our game, do we? So right, we'll reset it. There we go. Go into basic, and then we'll load it in at 49152. Okay, and then we'll randomize 49152, and we should just get our normal color bar, right? There it is, right? Now, but if we do it the second time, yeah, you see?
Yeah. Cool.
And again, (49152). Now, basic as well as AGD is running on. It's running on the interrupt, right? On the scan line, so it should be okay if we do this. Of course, we probably won't be able to get out of it, but well, maybe we will, right?
Well, yeah. If inkeys equals if inkeys M, then stop.
it'll just go through really fast. Lovely, look at that. Very cool.
Yeah, I can't get out of it. Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. No problem.
Very cool.
But you know, I could do something like, is there a pause? I don't remember. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. Oh, silly.
You got rid of the.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Toilet very quickly.
Nice.
Cool, right? Easy enough, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's just you two now, by the way. There's everyone else has gone.
That's it.
But anyway, some people will be watching somewhere anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, there we go. Later on. So that's it. That works, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not going to switch windows, but what I am doing is I'm going to go back and change the org to 7BD8 as it was before, so that we can run it in AGD. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we run that. There we go. It's just been reassembled, same routine as before, and now we just go to load AGD and we go into the font and we load it in at the address, which is 31704. Yep, 31704. Okay, and I update it, and you'll see we've got longer code now, right? Because obviously we've got those checks and everything, so it's gone a bit longer. But if we now run that, well, I'll put the window across like that as well. Might as well. Okay. But if we go into the main loop, right, we can go 205, 216, 123. Can run that, and we'll just wait for Dom to come back. I'm sure he's going to be back any other time. You comfortable with all of that though now? Is that all making sense?
Yeah.
A lot more than you expected it to.
Yeah. A lot more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I told you it'd be all right, didn't I?
Yeah. I guess because this is standalone. I mean, yeah. It does make sense. I guess I was thinking forward to stuff like, you know, if you were triggering stuff.
Yeah, well, even that. Well, it's not that hard to do. I mean, I'll actually show you how to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually pretty easy. Yeah. So are you back there, Dom?
Hey, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. So just quickly, we've assembled it at the new address, and we've put it into the font. I know you didn't want to miss out seeing it in its sort of data format. There it is. Right. Pure raw data. It's a bit longer now, right? Because it's new code. And we've put it in the main loop here to run. Yeah. And if we just run it, you see now we've got that going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
And what you can do is, if you can go here, you could say something like this: if a equals 0, yeah, like this, and then add 1 to a. If a equals 2, let a 0, right?
Okay, so it's slow it down.
You haven't used the optimal version of that.
I know, because I didn't want to confuse anybody. I'm always thinking of these things.
Exactly what you're talking about. I did get confused by that one.
You're literally just doing like a little loop. But what you could do is so if a equals 0, run that. Rather than add 1 to a, if you just add 1 to 8 to a, it goes 0, 1 to 8.
Yeah.
0.
As long as you start. Yeah, as long as you start, or you can also do 64 to A as well, right?
Yeah. And then you've got a slower timer.
Yeah, that's not doing anything though. And you know why? Probably because maybe we need to let A equals 0 at the beginning, right? I don't know. Maybe.
I thought it zeroed everything out at the start.
No, it doesn't. No.
No?
No, but there is an option in AGDX Plus available now. No, it's not. There is an option on AGDX Plus where you can say flush variables, where it will actually do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why would you want that?
What, flush variables? Or
yeah, I mean, because you could set the variables at the start.
Yeah.
But basically, if they're not set, they should be 0, shouldn't they?
No, they're not 0. Sometimes they're not 0. No, I don't know. It depends. No, I mean it's like if when the game starts a second time around, you see, they won't be reset. They'll be whatever they were.
Mm.
Yeah. But there is yeah. I added the flush variables, auto flush, you know, to the
Right.
toilet,
Yeah.
where it when it's a new game, it'll just flush all the variables, because normally when you're coding you'd be right, let A equal 0, let B equal 0, let C equal 0, let D equal 0.
Exactly. Yeah, which you don't.
Yeah, so you can just skip that. If you add the flush variables command, it means all the variables will be 0.
So there is actually there's a command for that. I didn't know that.
No, there isn't a command for it, but there's a patch that you can add
Oh, it's a patch.
that
Gotcha.
does it like by default, right?
Yeah.
So you can choose either do it or don't do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there may be some variables that you don't want to reset after a game. They might be like counting how many games you played, or I don't know, something. But maybe
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you keep it a high score or a high fast
yeah,
time.
high scores are not stored that way. But
Sorry.
yeah, there's
No.
also a patch for high score. But
Scores.
anyway, yeah. So that's easy enough. But you can. It's a really nice feature of AGD that I would probably have given up on AGD if it hadn't been for that, because I was able to do things I couldn't normally do. And it's really interesting because Jonathan told me that it was 50-50 as to whether he was even going to include it. So yeah, he didn't know how useful it would be, but it is actually for a beginner. It's great. You know?
Yeah.
So here, for example, right? So we've got here. Well, look. I mean, you can be like, you could do something like this. Let's say we do this, right? So we'll just do a really quick bit of coding here. We'll go. Okay, first of all let's make the window a little bit narrower, like that. And let's put our sprite, and we'll set the pointers, and we'll put in sorry, not the pointers. What am I doing? I want to put the templates on so I can set a bouncing template, right? Like that, and then I'll add a second square, and then we'll run them together like this, right? And hopefully they'll hit each other at some point, right? Are they going to hit each other? Maybe not. Are they?
Right.
Well, we'll just have to add a couple more then, won't we? Right, look at that one. Yeah, there you go. So they're hitting each other here.
Yeah.
There, you see there's a routine there? If hit that, right? So instead we'll do this, right?
Ah, cool.
Like that, and then we'll run it, and then we go like this. And then you can see, like, are they going to hit that one? Just did a bit of a hit, and then there you go, there you go. You see? Nice, huh?
Yeah.
Really neat.
Easy, right? And it's a nice way of practicing, isn't it? So you can, I mean, obviously, I mean, you're not gonna, it's like, it just needs a bit of techno music now, doesn't it, or something?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's pretty easy and pretty straightforward. So yeah.
Apply that to the game quite easily.
I'm amazed that I'm able to follow that, and
Well, I keep saying, there's a barrier, right? There is a barrier, and it's like a binary hex barrier, right? That makes things, and just understanding about the memory, and the fact that there is no. I actually think in some ways knowing about BASIC can make it confusing, because it's like you're trying to apply basic principles to something that's not basic, right? It's like an engine. It's like it's much rawer than basic,
Yeah.
But you just need to understand there's that really simple principle. There are addresses, and every address has a number in it, right?
Yeah.
And all of your coding is just putting numbers in addresses, more or less. It's 90% of it that's all it ever is. All of the code we've done today, that's all I'm doing, is reading numbers from the address, changing them, and putting them back.
Yeah.
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 So there you go. So by all means, have a play with that. I mean that works in BASIC as well, right? It's the same principle. If inky string equals this, then rand user this, right? And it would update it each time, right? So you understand that the reason that that's not flickering or doing anything like that is because AGD is also timed on the raster beam as well, right? So that the updates happen before at the start of the interrupt, right? So that it doesn't cause a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could change that so that when you got hit, there was like, the board when you died, like there was the attributes all flashed or something. I don't know. But it's a pretty simple demonstration, isn't it?
Yeah. You are seeing a bit of tearing actually between the blue and the yellow.
Possibly, yeah. Well, the timing on AGD is not super accurate.
Right.
So,
Okay.
I mean, it's good enough, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just uses halt. Like it just waits.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you will, especially if you added more sprites, you might get something. But,
Cool.
But I think that's enough, isn't it? Right? You could play about with that. You could try changing the values. Maybe you could add a white bar or something else.
Yeah.
Change the color order. Change it from blue upwards to yellow downwards.
Yeah, it's a nice little practical application.
I don't know if I've been copying it down. I don't know if I've got it exactly like yours. I think I might have, but I'll post it up.
Well, yeah. Well, I can do that actually if you want.
Yeah.
Easy.
Okay.
What should I do? Just copy. Well, is it just copy and paste?
Paste it into the coding one.
Into Discord. Here.
Stream code.
All right. Well, listen. I tell you what. Let's continue. We'll do that. We'll chat at the end of the stream. Let's finish up the stream. We won't bore people with our kind of random chit chat. We'll have a little chat about our plans and stuff for November when I'm over. Yeah. So thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. We finish at a reasonable time, I suppose. It's not even 5 here.
It's not midnight yet.
I hope you enjoyed the chat. And also the coding, and we'll see you next time. And as always, happy coding. Bye.